Hi, everybody. Welcome to Art School Live. I'm Gavin Glakas. I'm your guest host this week while Eric is away. And today, my guest on the show is going to be a great painter, Karen Offutt. Welcome to the show, Karen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. It's so good to have you here. What are you going to teach us today?
Well, thank you. I guess we're going to talk about finding a likeness in the portrait, where, just my own take on it. And I want to kind of explain that, we all have different ways of approaching painting. And this is kind of my way of getting a likeness. And yeah, hopefully it resonates.
Well, I can't wait to see it. So let's get the show started.
All right.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric. Nice to see. Oh, wait, no, I'm Gavin Glakas. I'm not Eric, and I'm your guest host this week while Eric is away. Today, our guest is Karen Offutt, and she's going to show us how to capture a likeness while painting a portrait. So, Karen, take it away.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I went ahead and started this piece just to kind of expedite the whole process. I started this last night, and my whole concept is, getting down the basic large shapes. And you'll hear a lot of artists say that it's kind of mostly how we approach painting for most of us. What I want to do is lay down the sort of the average shadow shapes and just to get the foundational structure of the form. And then I go in with the like midtones and then the light tones, kind of the average of the light and the average of the shadow. So I don't want to go too dark too soon. So basically my idea is, I'm doing comparative measuring. If I'm painting from a photo or if I'm painting from life, it's basically the painting from observation. And what I want to achieve is that immediacy. Now everybody paints differently. There's so many, and I tell my students all the time, there's an infinite amount of ways to start a painting. And so this is sort of my take on it. And I think, we all have our different descriptions of form or of our, let me back up, different descriptions of how we approach the painting. And so, here, when I'm bringing this big structure in, the big foundational shapes, in this photo of Lena, she's got a lot of dark on her left side of her face. And so that gives me a lot of what I call the anchor shapes. And I believe I got that from Rose Franson. It's the idea of the cast shadows really bringing in the form, describing the form, describing the initial foundation. And then as, for example, if you're getting into the beginning of the big shapes, you use a bigger brush, right? So as we get into the smaller shapes, you use smaller brushes. But the initial block in gives me that foundational structure of the form so that as I get further in, I can isolate these areas to articulate the features. And so that's the beginning.
That makes perfect sense. I've got a question for you about your paint quality in a second, but first let me just welcome everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome We're lucky to have Karen Offutt here showing us how to paint portraits. And we've got people from California and North Carolina, Tulsa, Rhode Island, Florida, Pennsylvania, from all over the place. So welcome, everybody. Karen, let me first ask you, can you tell us what your paint quality is like at this point? Is it thick? Is it thin? Is it wet? Is it dry? Where are you at where you're sort of laying down your foundation here?
I would say, in the beginning of the overall painting, it's thin, and so what was nice is that I let this dry a little bit so that I could start in and get more of the kind of contour type colors or block ins, but it's always that lean to fat idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I normally do is this is kind of I would think that everybody sort of goes with this idea, is that you're building up more paint as you get farther into the painting, and the lights are going to be thicker, for example.
Yeah.
So you build up from the shadow to the light.
And do you try to keep your shadows thinner than the lights?
Yes. I mean, that's, I will do that because I do kind of enjoy seeing some of that vibrancy, in the canvas or, the layers.
Yeah, it makes for a fabulous effect.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know, we all have our kind of approaches to painting and approaches to helping people with their paintings. And, the common theme is, well, what if, it's getting muddy, and which we've all been there, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And for me, I just think about it as, well, I mean, mud's a color and we can pull you out of the mud by adding chroma. And so that's kind of my concept. Now, am I right about everything? I don't know, but it works.
I was hoping you'd say, yes, I definitely am.
Yeah. No, I like to hopefully get there, but it's a building process.
Well, even those few hits of red you've just put in have really livened up the chroma and it just made her come a little more alive. And just a couple hits here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it's that layering idea. You're layering the colors, you're layering the paint. And so, the initial block in, like I was saying, in the drawing, I have that ready, and I'm measuring, I'm using my plumb lines, and looking at a mirror backwards.
I find that so helpful. I have one behind me in my studio, and it's almost like every brush stroke I check in the mirror.
Yes. Because and one thing you have to be careful with is that if you paint too late at night, you start getting fatigue. Have you noticed that? And then
I have noticed that. I paint till very late at night, and
oh my God.
There are times where I sort of say to myself, well, I'll just keep painting and then I'll figure this out tomorrow morning.
Right. Yeah. And then you walk in the studio and you look at your painting and the features are completely off. You've got a Picasso with two eyes over there, and then,
Absolutely, yeah.
I should have just gone to bed,
I'm laughing because I know that feeling very well.
Yes. And it's like, okay, well, I'll spend the morning having to fix what I messed up the night before. But but yeah, so with the idea of it's so funny, it's kind of hard to talk and paint at the same time. But I do my best. But I get the initial structure. So what my goal is to get that three-dimensionality in the form, so that if I squint down at my image or the model, and I squint down at my painting, and you're getting that three-dimensional idea, then you can kind of go forward. But until, for me, until I get that, I can't really move forward, because I need to have that buildup, that initial buildup. So that helps with, me capturing the likeness. But when I get into these smaller areas that, like we're kind of building up into the soft transitions and the values, I tend to isolate what I'm seeing. So for example, if I'm like here, I'm adding some other softer transitional values in between, in between here and here, here and here, there's this transition that happens. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at just this on, on my painting, and then looking at it on the model. And then I'm trying to mimic that. So I'm getting away from trying to find the likeness, and now I'm just filling in, abstracting my ideas of what's happening in the colors, in the light. And then that, when you get away from trying, at least for me, when I get away from trying to, like, oh, I got to make sure that eyelash or whatever, I want to just isolate these areas and mimic what I see. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and it's a weird.
So will you sort of take time off here and there in a painting from worrying about the likeness? Is that part of the way that you capture the likeness?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, once you have the drawing and the shape, the big shapes down, then you go into all these little tiny nuances that happen and try to mimic that. So say you're not looking at the whole face, you're just looking at, like I said, you isolate this one area. You don't even think about, oh, those are lips, that's a cheek. Just try to mimic this form in these planes. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of this back and forth of like, okay, well, I need to move her jaw a little over, but then these little tiny moves that if you don't, I think you can get really distracted by trying to chase the idea of finding the form. Instead, just isolate those areas. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And it's probably a good way to sort of not rest your brain, because that takes just as much concentration, but sort of rest your brain from looking at the likeness. Because what I find, and I paint a lot of portraits, is that the longer I look at it, the more correct all my errors look. And the more it looks like the person to me, whereas it does not in objective reality, right?
Right.
That's sort of the same way that none of us can tell if we're gaining or losing weight when we look at ourselves in the mirror every morning, and then you see a photo of yourself and you go, oh my gosh, how did that happen? So by taking that time off of worrying about the likeness, I would think that it sort of keeps you fresh and enables you to come back in every once in a while and say, okay, let me look at this likeness, and then have an easier time of identifying alterations that you might need to make. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes. So, because all of these planes, they're little micro shifts in the planes. And so it just is a tool to allow you to be able to achieve, like, instead of assuming that there's a white in the eyes, for example, when you're starting fresh, never painted in your life, and people assume that lips are red.
Right.
The whites of the eyes are white.
Right.
So it's kind of like you have to abstract your assumption visual assumption to, put together these shapes. I mean, it's all about shapes and shape relationships.
And looking at them objectively rather than bringing our preconceived notions of what
Yes.
eyes look like and what lips look like.
Yes.
Everybody starts by outlining the lips and
Yes.
then we look a little more intently at it and we say, oh, there's no outline there. Interesting.
Right. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I go and like, maybe I want to enhance something that's a little bit, maybe throw in a chroma or a color in that's not necessarily there, but I'm gonna find a color adjacent to it that's going to kind of push it forward.
And can you talk about why you would do that? To what extent it's purely visual, to what extent it's psychological, to what extent it has to do with, if we're talking about capturing a likeness, depicting the person or a certain attribute.
So, I think for the most of us artists, we paint in a way that's like optical mixing, and that's with where you have like different colors in one value that, because skin is not flesh tone. I mean, there's no such thing as a flesh tone. It's multi layers of skin and blood vessels and, like the fatty part of the cheeks versus the real thin skin under the eye. That's going to be a completely different story. So for me, I just want that to, I want to express those things, and maybe I'll exaggerate one of the, find a place where I can exaggerate that. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think that I've often thought of those exaggerations and the minimizations as sort of being another way to describe creativity. I'm going to enhance this. I'm going to play down that. Right. As opposed to, I don't know how you first started, but when I was first starting to paint when I was 14 years old, I was sort of on a crusade to paint exactly what I saw. And it took me a while to figure out that there was no such thing.
That's true. Yeah. But that's where getting away from, seeing the form and trying to mimic like trying to articulate every single thing. It's nice to be able to have your own voice and then kind of pick apart. So for me, I like seeing work that's, I love all kind of art, but I get really excited when I see realism kind of deconstructed, where it's like fresh and interesting. And then you threw this curveball at me, and, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing the decisions that people
Yeah.
make. I remember it wasn't that long ago even, I was in a museum and I was sketching a copy of a portrait by 𝗍𝗪𝗪. And if you'd been watching me, if you'd been in the museum looking at my face, I was just constantly surprised by what I saw, what I found.
Yes.
And it was like being on a treasure hunt. And I sort of couldn't believe some of the things that he was doing. And the farther I got into this treasure hunt, the better the treasure was that I was finding. And I love things like that.
Yeah. So, and it's funny how like artists go to museums and we're just sitting there stuck and in awe,
Right.
But yeah, so I tell my students, like again, there's so many ways to make art. There's so many ways to paint. It's infinite. And I used to have, starting out, there were all these rules and like, oh, you shouldn't paint a person bigger than a human size person, you know, like a face bigger than a human size face. And it's like, well, that's no, why? Which I kind of like breaking the rules a little bit, you know.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I do tell my students that in class. I say, you certainly can if you want, but you know, if you're across the room and we've got 2 hours with the model, it will be more difficult. But I 100% agree with you. I mean, every rule is meant to be broken as much as possible.
Right.
But so there are a couple questions coming in. First of all, Sharon is saying hi from South Africa. So hi, Sharon.
Gosh.
Thanks for joining us. Carl is asking, is part of the process of capturing a likeness to position the model in a gaze or stare that captures their personality also?
Yeah. And you're studying their face. I mean, you know, you're looking at the light. It depends. It really depends. I will say that, like, over COVID, and you know, we had the online drawing open sessions.
Yeah.
And so what we would do is we would have a model pose for 30 minutes and then we'd just do a loop, so they don't need to sit there for 3 hours, because we didn't have that kind of technology that made that look good. We tried. But so we just pre-recorded, and then models would send us recordings that they did on their own. And I always like to have, you know, kind of a dynamic light situation. And this one woman, and I can't remember where she was from, but she had recorded herself in a white room with no shadows. And I was hosting this thing, and I was not happy in the beginning. And because it was such a challenge, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to make her look three-dimensional?
It's so hard.
Yeah. And so, but I took it as, and so for me, I took it as a challenge. I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'll figure it out. And so what happened was I really used the different temperature shifts. You know, it was very compressed value range.
Yeah.
And the temperature shifts really made a difference in how I was able to achieve the three-dimensionality of it.
Yeah, that is such a challenge. I mean, it's like painting a portrait from a photo taken with a flash.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I've really, a couple of the artists, I've really enjoyed looking at some of the artists who deliberately do that. So 2 artists who nobody has ever said their names in the same sentence before, but 2 artists who seem to me who have gone out of their way to work that way are Gustav Klimt and Norman Rockwell. And I think that for both of them, that approach to lighting their models makes their work so distinctive looking.
Yeah. And it's sort of a design element too in that. But you know, I feel like really, again, it's the isolating. It's, you know, you get your big shapes and then you isolate everything.
Right.
So, and then tackle those areas one at a time. And so, like, if I have a color on my brush as well, I'm going to look around and say, well, that color's represented here as well. So I kind of move my eye around. I have this one color and I'm going to move it, you know, maybe it's represented here a little bit, but I'm not trying to say, oh, well, the philtrum, I got to articulate the philtrum, and the philtrums usually look like this. Well, no, I mean, we're all different, right?
Yeah.
So, so I'm just looking around the form, what I have, and trying to fill in the blanks, sort of.
I think that's such an important concept, and it was very foreign to me when I was first started, and it seems to be it seems to not come that easily to students, is rather than kind of completing this area and then completing the next area and then completing the one after that, to be consistently working around the form.
Yeah.
For that reason and for others too. And it's so interesting to watch your portrait come alive as a whole, that rather than having kind of her right eye be finished and then her lips not even attended to.
Right. Right. It's all all parts to the whole, you know?
Yeah.
But it's really, that's why, you know, there are people that are not in the art world, that are not artists, and they don't understand the torment that we go through.
That is the
And they're
truth.
like, yeah, and they don't, I mean, you don't know until you're in it. And it's like, you know, I've had people where they ask me what I do, and I'm like, I'm an artist, and they're like, oh, that's cute, oh, that's sweet. And I'm like, yeah, how fun is that? Yeah. It's like, do you realize the self torture I go through?
Totally. I remember talking to one of my friends, and he was telling me about some misconception that all of his students seem to have about the process of painting. And I said, why do they think that? And he sort of looked at me very quizzically, and he said, I think that they think that it's supposed to be relaxing.
Oh my gosh. Well, this
and
is
I know that,
paint,
like my
right?
dad, for instance, thinks that being an artist, and my dad is very supportive of me and has been from the beginning, but like he sort of thinks that I have this life where I'm like kind of outside, maybe drinking wine and sort of just like pondering the meaning of the universe while I'm happily painting away in the sunshine. Right. And it's you know.
Well, I mean, aren't we?
Every day.
Every day, all day long.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And but in what I tell everyone is like, you have to be in love with it. You can't do this just for, you know, relaxation. You have to love it, because it is a lifelong journey. And you know, I think we have a little bit of OCD, because we're just constantly thinking about the next painting, don't we?
Oh, totally.
So
totally. Isn't that, you know, what's your favorite painting? It's the next one. Isn't that the cliche?
Yes. Yes. So, you know, asking me what I'm working on is like, I've got like 20 paintings in my head right now that I have in the pipeline.
Totally.
So, yeah. And but it's always, then, you know, then you have your life and you got to take care of people and things, but you find your way, you know, and again, you have to love it, because it takes time. And I mean, can you imagine like doing something that you really weren't into, but you just felt like you had to do it and you didn't want to?
That was insanely difficult and took a ton of energy.
Yes. Yes. And
yeah,
time.
I love people's ideas. Occasionally, you know, some layperson friend of mine or somebody that I meet will say something, and it's, you know, it's a valid question if you don't know anything about art and have never thought about it. They'll say some version of, so do you work when you're inspired? You know, and I'm like, no,
oh my gosh,
that's not how it goes.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I sometimes I get like, when people are talking, and sometimes my brain goes into, ooh, oh, I just thought of an idea, you know.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, so that's where it is, you know.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Seinfeld where somebody asked him if he was always thinking of comedic material, and he said 100% of the time. That's all that he ever thinks about. And they said, are you thinking about it right now? And he said, yes, of course. And then, you know, there's only artists watching this, so right. I don't usually admit this in front of all the lay people out there. But yeah, when you're sitting there talking to somebody, of course you're looking at the light on their face, and you're looking at their expression, and you're looking at the cools in their skin. Yes. I mean, right? I assume that you are. I know I am.
Yeah. Oh, like I had my class and I made sure to have them look at themselves in the mirror to look at the qualities in their own face, because it's, they are they're the least expensive, the most available model that they could get.
Oh, totally.
And it's like, take advantage of it. Just try to paint your ears, try to paint your eye, your nose, just study it.
Oh, and half of the portraits that I paint, it's my hands, right? Or it's my shoulder.
Yes. Right, exactly. So but yeah, I mean, this is all I think. I mean, it's, this is creatively all I think about.
Creatively. Yes, we all love our families.
Yes, we love our families, of course. But, I could be watching TV with my husband, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I thought of something,
Yeah.
So
now, so can I ask you a couple questions about your materials? People
yeah.
are always curious about mediums and solvents, and especially starting out. Did you use anything to thin down the paint?
Yeah, well, okay. I'm gonna admit I use Gamsol, and there, again, everybody has their way of painting and the materials. Just for the beginning stages of the painting, to do a wash and to block in, and then it's the first layer of the painting. So when that dries, then I go in and I can layer more paint on. And then I use walnut oil. I think I used to use poppy seed oil, but it would take way too long to dry. And sometimes you want things to kind of be ready for the next layer without kind of pulling up the previous layer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Do you use walnut oil when you're painting in layers that you're planning to dry? And then do you use walnut oil on anything other than the very last layer?
So what I do is, when I prepare my paints on the palette, sometimes depending on the paint, it can come out, like really rich and creamy, and I use my palette knife to kind of knead into it to soften it. But if I have a real tough kind of dried out, some of these pigments might be a little bit tougher I want all to dig into. So I want all my paints to be the same consistency. And so what I might do is put, if I'm kneading into it, with a palette knife, let's see, for example, I guess you can see this one. See how that's nice and creamy, but it's not too oily, right? I want all of my paints to be the same consistency. So not out of the tube, sometimes they don't. And so I might put 1 drop of walnut oil, knead it in until it gets to that level. And it's so basic like these little simple things that I do, that we all do. It's like, I want to be able to just lift that paint off the palette and then gently put it down. And so I have a really light touch with my application as well. And but yeah, there's so many. It's funny because when I go to these conferences and I watch people paint, and I think, oh well, they're using a different collection of colors on their palette, and I'm like, oh geez, wow. But then we end up in the same place. So with the form, with the application and knowing chroma and value, temperature shifts and all that, it resonates.
Yeah, it's that push-pull, right? On the
Yeah.
one hand saying, I never want to stop experimenting, I never want to stop learning. And on the other hand, at least I find, saying to myself, this is hard enough as it is. Do I really need to make it any harder?
Right. Yeah. Or it could be, oh, thank God they he or she or they did everything the way I would have, or they put it where I would think they would put it, it's like,
Right, yeah.
we're not totally off. We just have different materials,
Right.
but there's a similarity to the end result. And see, like now we have how many more minutes on this? Because I could
between
do this
10
for
10 to
hours.
15.
Okay.
It's really come together, though. I mean, you've really
I'm trying.
taken it pretty
I'm
far.
trying. Well, I wanted to make sure it was at a certain spot before I did this, because so we could have some sort of understanding, I guess, of my ideas. But it's just it's a buildup, right? So I'm making little marks all around, building up into this shape and the form.
Yeah, I think it's a nice approach that, I mean, it's always interesting to see someone begin a painting, but we've all seen a million people begin a million paintings. I was always interested in seeing the middle of the painting because I knew what it looked like at the end and I knew what it looked like in the beginning. So I'm glad you're sort of showing us the middle here.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. But yeah, so, and then, do you ever go into the right and left brain thing while you're painting and talking?
I've actually never, I should sit down and Google it so I know which one is which. I could never remember which one is which.
Right brain's the creative.
Yes.
And the left brain's the logical, that part of you on your shoulder that's like, why are you doing this?
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's like, the left brain needs to just leave the room. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I just, so it's hard to explain in some ways, but like I said, with the idea that we all come from different places in our journey in the art world. And, you can be really refined in your drawing and, really, specific in every single thing, or you could slap some paint on and carve your way out. Watching, for example, Rose Franson paint is
by the way, I really enjoy watching her paint.
Oh my God. She is it's like being on her magic carpet ride when you, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, just all over. And then you're like, what is she doing? Oh my God. Is she, she just combs.
It's an absolute free for all. At least the ones that I saw in the first couple minutes.
Yeah. And then it's fascinating to see how it manifests.
Absolutely.
So,
I love her work.
Yeah. And so I don't really want to subscribe to, there's one way of doing things, because, you think about the refinement, and then you think about like Sargent and, kind of more the 𝗟𝗶𝗴𝗲 approach to painting. Mm-hmm. And then you think, do you know Eugene, I'm going to say it French, but Eugene Carrier or Carrier?
I'm not sure I do.
Look him up, because now his approach seems to be like a very washy approach. It's gorgeous. It is so atmospheric, so limited. It's like there's a wash of like a raw umber or something, and then he just pulls the form out with like a towel or with a brush, and then adds a little bit of color and layers in the light, and that's it. And it's incredible.
Can you say his last name? Can you anglicize his last name and articulate it as well as possible?
So it's Carrier, like Eugene, and then Carriere.
Okay.
So like when I was learning to paint with oils, that was one of my master copies. And it was like breaking down all these ideas. And again, you know, it's like all these rules in place. You have to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, you know, you can make something super compelling doing something completely different, you know?
Absolutely. And
So I don't
Loretta
like-
is asking Rose Franzen's last name. It's Franzen, Frantzen, I believe.
Yeah. And but I'm just so fascinated watching people do their own kind of approach and seeing how they get to that point in their painting where it just comes alive.
Yeah.
You know, we had do you know David Shivlino?
Yes. Yeah, I really like his work a lot.
I was watching one of his demos, and the first thing he said to us was, "You're not dismantling a bomb." So I was like, yeah, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I just love hearing that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So
now you have a school in Austin, right? You
Yes.
offer classes at a place?
Yep, we have Atelier Dojo, and we're in Austin, Texas, and we're actually going to move down the street, hopefully in December. But we're getting a new space, and we have a full-time academy, which is taught by Jennifer Balkin being the director of the academy. And then we have Nate Say, Jeff Markowski, Pedro Cordova. And then, so they teach the full time, and some of them teach shorter classes outside of that. And I teach like figure or portrait painting on Tuesday nights. And yeah.
Well, what a great resource for people down there. Are you anywhere near Crestview? Because that's where my brother lives, and that's where I always stay.
I live right near Crestview. I'm in Brentwood.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So so I have my studio in my backyard, and which is handy. And yeah, so we're hopefully, you know, expanding the realism community, or, you know, the realism art in Austin, Texas, because there's everything for everyone else, but it's like, okay, hey, you know what? We got some artists here in town that actually do, you know, realism. And so we're growing, and we've got a lot of new students, which is so fantastic. And so we're just trying to expand the community here.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
we're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can really call it any time in the next 5 minutes.
Okay. This is probably, I don't know if I can get this all taken care of in 5 minutes.
Wait, you're not going to bring the entire thing up to a museum quality finish in the next 5 minutes?
Well, just give me 4 minutes. How about that?
No problem.
Yeah. But yeah, I can keep painting on this for like hours. But
It's
she's
really
getting
nice.
there.
I mean,
She's getting there.
she certainly is.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll have to come by when you come visit.
I would love to. I would love to come by and just draw or paint for the night. I think that would be, if you guys have open sessions, or
We
if I
do.
could duck my head in and just see how the place operates, I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. And usually we have open sessions, short poses on Friday nights, and then longer poses on Saturday, 1:30 to 4:30.
Oh, how great. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on one sec.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what's everybody wanting? A highlight?
Are we
Where
taking
is the
requests now?
highlight?
You better be careful. It's dangerous when you open it up to the
Nope.
crowd, you know?
Yeah. When is she going to put the highlight in? Yeah. There.
Oh,
Something.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, yeah. Maybe I'll put a little light in the side of her eye. Something like that.
Nice. Yeah, that makes her
You
come
know,
alive.
Just moving my eye around and seeing what I could, little pieces of information that I can kind of finish up with. So.
And how many of those little brushes do you have going right now?
Oh, please don't ask. I have so many. I'm a brush hoarder.
No, I don't mean in your studio. I mean that you're actively using on this painting right now.
Well, there's about 4, maybe 5, depending on what I'm doing. You know, the smaller brushes for the little tiny marks that I'm doing right here. And then I'll have a little bit bigger. I mean, you know, this is a small size. Her face is probably 4 inches. So I don't want to go with a big brush and throw down some crazy shapes.
Right.
If I'm trying to refine it. So, you know, this is probably like a 0 round.
Mm-hmm.
Just for certain areas that I want to touch up and refine, and, you know, I don't want to overwhelm the, you know, it's again, you know, the big shapes to the small shapes.
Right.
And so I want to have something that at least I can find those little increments of gradation in the values, and you know, so the bigger shapes I would use a bigger brush, but I mean, again, it's like between 0 to 4, maybe 4 being the largest, and they could be 𝗖𝗿𝗄𝗃, or, you know, whatever works for, you know, some people love flats, some people love rounds. I'm kind of anything, you know, it depends on what I'm trying to lay down. And certain, like hog hair brushes, they will create like a beautiful, they're a little stiffer, so they'll have kind of its own texture when you lay down a color. And then the kind of the soft synthetic ones will be for smaller areas that are, you know, just a little, you know, I don't know.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Are you ready to call this one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Karen, this looks fantastic. I'm really amazed at how much you accomplished on it.
Oh, thanks.
I hope that you all enjoyed today's demo. Thank you for joining us. And a huge thanks to everybody who jumped in on the comments and asked questions. It's great to hear from you all. Don't forget to visit Karen's website, Karen Offutt, OFFUTT.com, and follow her on Instagram at Karen Offutt. That's Karen with a K. Karen, thank you so much. This was really great.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been really fun. So
And
good
hope
luck
to
with
see you
everything in
soon.
Austin, and hopefully we can get out there and paint together at some point.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, listen, everybody, I have a gift for you. Download the free video, 97 Incredible Art Secrets. Go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. If you haven't signed up for Plein Air Live, it's time to do so. November 6th through 8th, 2025, with Essential Techniques Day on November 5th. 3 days to fast track your journey to outdoor painting. Sign up at pleinairlive.com, and let's watch this short video.
Every artist knows the frustration. You want to grow, to break through, to see your paintings come alive. But too often you're painting alone, stuck in the same routines, not knowing what's missing. Photos lie, books only go so far, and it can feel like the true secrets of painting are locked away. But what if, in just 3 days, you could watch the world's top plein air and landscape painters, brush in hand, showing you every step of their process? What if you could ask your questions and learn the techniques it took them decades to master without ever leaving home? This November, join us for Plein Air Live, the world's largest online painting conference. You'll learn from legends like 𝗄𝗏𝗵𝗴, Cindy Barron, Kathleen Hudson, 𝗄𝗏𝗵𝗴𝗃, Bill Davidson, Mike Hernandez, and dozens more hand-picked masters. Across 3 days, plus an optional Essential Techniques Day for a guided refresher, you'll watch demonstrations, join interactive breakout rooms, and even paint along in evening sessions with new friends from around the globe. This kind of lineup will never happen again. You could spend tens of thousands traveling to workshops and still never gather this much talent in one place. But at Plein Air Live, it all comes to you. Don't miss your chance to grow, to connect, and to be inspired. Join us at Plein Air Live, November 6th through 8th, 2025.
Okay, everyone, don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live on YouTube and at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. And speaking of Eric, let's see what he's up to. Where in the world is Eric Rhodes?
Hey guys, it's Eric Rhodes, and I am here in our hotel. This hotel has a modern component and a classic component. For instance, the classic component behind me is a giant Switzerland painting, a mural. I don't know who the artist is. I don't know that I'd be able to read who the artist is anyway. There's also a big painting down here at the end, and another one over here on the other end. But it's just a beautiful ballroom. It's got beautiful ceilings, beautiful floors, and it's just remarkable. And this is part of where our group is going to be. We are going to be here in Switzerland for the next, 10 days or so. Look here at this mural. I mean, you can see there's little indications of little buildings and sheep and all kinds of things. It's just kind of fun to see. There's a little house. And there's no signature that I can see. Of course, it looks like it's over 100 years old, so it may have a signature. Anyway, today is our first day. Our group is checking in. Some of them are here already. And tonight we'll have an opening dinner, and then everybody will get to bed, get some jet lag. I slept way too long last night or this morning, but that's okay because we need to get caught up. And then I will be leading the group for the next 10 days, as I said. We're going to be painting around here. We're in Lucerne right now, and if you look out the window, it's kind of hard to see because there's some trees here. But if you look out the window, there's some mountains in the background and a lake in the background. It's kind of hard to see it because the camera kind of blows it away. But it's got us a really beautiful place to stay. And we'll be heading out and painting around Lucerne for a couple of days, and then we're going to head to some small villages that don't even have any cars. And then we'll be heading on down to Lake Como, painting Lake Guardia, and then we'll be painting, most of us, not all of us, are going to be heading on to a program that we're going to do in Venice, and then I'll be heading on to Florence. So that's the report from today. There probably will be more coming, but thanks for checking in.
Man, what a great trip. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us. You can check out my work at my website, which is 𝗍𝗵𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗏, or look at it on Instagram. And of course, you can get my videos, Glow, Creating Depth, Atmosphere, and Vibrant Sun, and Painting the Night at PaintTube TV. So thank you for having me this week. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish you all the best. Take care, everybody.